This is What's Up and Why, bringing you the bright side of life, one fun moment at a time. Brought to you by the New Thought Media Network. Please put your hands together for your hosts, Rev Casey Taylor and Miss B Lovely.
Be Lovely still trying to get her stuff together. Okay, so there we go. Hello, this was a lot better and more smoother than last week. Thanks for joining us for another wonderful, fun episode. I am Miss B Lovely, joined by the lovely
Reverend Casey Taylor. I use they, them pronouns, and I gotta give you your flowers for the ways that you are doing double duty. You were on top of it early. We were both on top of it early, had ourselves and our stuff together. But for you to be doing double duty, for you to be producing the show, running the show, starring in the show at the same time, I got to give you your flowers.
Thank you, Cuzzo. And I want to give flowers to you for joining, on this program, and to all our lovely viewers who are at home or wherever you are streaming live. Really excited for this episode because I feel like we're going to be talking about so many good things, honoring icons, honoring people, amazing achievements, and just getting people ready for the weekend and just talking about all the good things. So before we get into all the good things and what's up, I want to know how you be today, Rev Casey Taylor.
That's a great question. I don't know if I've talked about this on the show. Maybe I talk about it every week and I don't even know, but I'm going to say it this way, and I don't think I've ever said it like this. I feel like my trip to Asia was this great reset in my life, that I've been living a life of conformity. And that's not rare. Like, the 9-to-5 American situation, like that, I was living a life of conformity. And my life has shifted where I could be living a life of freedom, but I had all of these habits that came from a life of conformity. And Asia, well, it wasn't just Asia, it was this 6-week trip across the West Coast and to Asia and back that was really this great reset of cleansing these habits of conformity and capitalism and stepping back into Oklahoma City with this place of freedom. And freedom's kind of like, it's got a double-edged sword, right? Like in theory, it sounds nice. But in reality, having an infinite amount of choices and knowing which one, like making the decision and doing it, like it's a whole thing. Not having people tell you what to do and when you got to do it. It's a whole thing. So I'm adjusting, orienting to this life of freedom, and some days are easier than others, but I'm grateful that today is okay. I'm doing okay. Long answer, okay. How you be lovely?
I'll be good. I'm doing very well. Getting ready to go to a friend's wedding this weekend in New Orleans, so that's going to be fun. And I'm just taking everything one day at a time. I'm enjoying the fact that we are in summer. We made it through the snow, the cold, the snowcrete that we was experiencing in the East Coast earlier this year. So now it's hot and humid. My favorite time of the year. Got the braids ready for the humidity. So, ready to take on what this summer is going to throw at me. Okay.
Props to you going to New Orleans in the summertime. I'm going to a wedding this weekend too. So I love that we got this. I mean, it's June, but wedding love energy going on. But our family in Chicago, there was this crazy storm last night. So I'm glad we're enjoying the weather and not in Chicago today.
Yes. So let's get into our hot topics for, what's going on in this world in our first segment, which is What's Up. We are going to be talking about, starting with Miss Teyana Taylor, who has just been announced that she's going to be receiving the Ultimate Icon Award at the BET Awards at the end of June. So the Icon Awards, it honors someone who is a trailblazer, someone who creates their own lane, who creates their own table, and is, really making moves and influencing the culture. Teyana Taylor is definitely doing that. She's been in a lot of films recently. She was in One Battle After Another, nominated for an Oscar. I believe she did receive an Oscar as part of the ensemble cast since it won Best Picture at the Oscars this year. So She's a recent Oscar award-winning actress. She just released a new album earlier this year, and she's in a lot of new projects. So it's very fitting that she's being the recipient of this year's Ultimate Icon Award. You may remember Rev Casey Taylor. Miss Mariah Carey received the Icon Award. I believe it was last year. So Teyana is gonna be getting up and getting that award. So as we were talking about how this episode we're talking about how people are getting their flowers. Do you think that we've as a society and culture, like, we're becoming better with celebrating people while they're here, as opposed to with the changing of the guard and stuff, there's more people presently who are getting their flowers. As of in the past, it would usually be the person after they're deceased getting the recognition and all the awards and everything.
I love how Miss Tina Knowles is who put us onto this. She gave some speech somewhere. I can't even remember what show it was, but she was like, look, y'all, we need to be giving people our flowers. Somebody had just passed. I think it was Natalie Cole. I'm not super sure. But I remember she's who introduced this phrase into contemporary cultural lexicon, and really led to this shift of us giving people their flowers while they are still alive. Because Miss Tina told us, put us in our place, in a award show speech, to letting us know, educating the people that this is a practice that we need to engage in, and we listened. So props to her and props to us.
And props to Miss Tina for also giving birth to the legends themselves, Beyonce and Solange, because especially Solange, because her albums, When I Get Home and A Seat at the Table, those are my musical Bibles. Okay. They got me through some really tough times, and they help me, when I'm trying to decompress and stuff. So let's continue to give people their flowers. And the next group we're giving flowers to, the Wayans brothers. So if you tuned in last week, I previewed how Scary Movie 6 was coming out. They had secured the rights to the film from the Weinstein brothers and retained their ownership. Everybody went out to the theaters, and the film broke records. So the film was on a $30 million budget. They had $30 million to make this film. They turned around and made over $105 million worldwide, over $50 million domestically, over $50 million overseas. Opening weekend, huge for a Black, first of all, a film that is written, directed, and produced by Black men, has a predominantly Black cast, and is also a horror comedy movie. Those numbers are unheard of underneath all of those tiers. So we're giving our flowers to the Wayans brothers for breaking the record. The movie, hilarious, getting lots of great reviews. And Sean, he made good on his promise about wanting to make America laugh again.
All right. And it went against He-Man, right? I mean,
it went against He-Man, the live action.
Yeah. Something that people had a lot of high expectations for. And I feel like this was kind of right on par with what He-Man brought in this weekend.
Mm-hmm. And Marlon Wayans did say if Scary Movie did great in theaters, he's going to give us a White Chicks 2. So he's going to have to make good on that promise. And, spoiler alert, there was a White Chicks cameo in Scary Movie. So I think he kind of already, had the script and everything ready and is set to present it to the studio to go to production.
That's called speaking it into an existence. And I honestly, I think I told you that I saw White Chicks in the theater with our cousin, and I probably would watch White Chicks too. I feel like we kind of need one right now. So
I agree.
We could kind of use one. Obviously, we needed Scary Movie 6, so we probably need White Chicks 2 also. We must see it as it's looking like it's manifesting itself.
We need White Chicks 2. Someone else that we need that we did not know that we needed is a man called Floyd Norman. So if you're not familiar with Floyd Norman, he's going to be receiving an honorary Oscar at this year's Governor's Award because he is the first Black animator at Disney. He is the animator who is behind the films The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Mulan, Sleeping Beauty, 101 Dalmatians, Monsters, Inc. He's been with Disney for like the last 65 years, and he's an innovator and really helped to like push Disney forward, especially in the 90s. The Hunchback of Notre Dame is one of my favorite Disney movies, my all time.
I watched that just because of you, and it stays up on mine. I listen to Disney radio on satellite XM, and they play songs from it all the time. And you always say it's your favorite, so I watched it probably like 3 months ago, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad you vibe with it.
The Hunchback of it's a great film. It has a great theme. You can't just treat people wrong because they look different than you.
Yeah, I mean, and just, the religious themes, like I couldn't believe, the fact that this is a children's movie and this religious man is lusting over this woman and blaming her for it. Like, I was like, this kid's movie? I couldn't. And the fact that it was your favorite movie as a kid, like I was definitely side-eyeing baby.
It was the depth.
Lovely.
It was the depth, okay? It was so many deep underlying meanings, because even as a child, I'm like, okay, why does this man want her to go to hell just because she doesn't want to be with him? So it's like so many deep messages, but it was also a lot of messaging for me as a child watching Hunchback of Notre Dame. Teach me to treat people right. Good will always prevail. Stay the course, and the value and power of friendship. So I love the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I'm glad that you finally got a chance to watch it.
Grateful for the ways that it has impacted and shaped who you have become. This is why I love Disney. And I'm grateful that this man gets to get his flowers, like you said, while he's still alive. I've never heard of him before, so thank you for putting me on, and I'm a look out for him in the Oscars this year.
Shout out to Floyd Norman, 65 years with Disney, the first Black animator at Disney. We are shouting him out. We're also shouting out Miss Serena Williams, who made a comeback to professional tennis this week. She had announced her retirement back in 2022 at the end of the U.S. Open, but she made a comeback this week. She was in the Queen's, was it the Queen's Challenge or the Queen's Open? I can't remember the exact title, but she was in the doubles. Her and her partner won. Unfortunately, her partner injured herself on Wednesday, so they weren't able to advance today. But Serena is going to be taken back to the court next week for the Berlin Open. And she says she's just taking it day by day. She's showing out for the mamas who, stop to have some kids and want to get back into the workforce and stuff. So, giving a shout out to Serena, who is still the GOAT. Okay.
Absolutely. Always deserves her flowers.
Yes. And lastly, the NBA Finals is going on between the Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs. Is a huge game. A lot of people are watching. And the game 3 on, I believe it was Monday, actually broke records. It had the largest audience for an NBA Finals since 1998, when the Chicago Bulls was going for their three-peat against the Utah Jazz.
I watched I didn't watch this Knicks game, but I did watch that game. But I was in Chicago, so
a lot of people are excited because the Knicks, this is their first appearance in like decades, and the energy is there. New York is happy. There's just a lot of excitement because I'm seeing a lot of people online saying like this is the most fun and interesting NBA Finals that they've seen in a long time, because it's like a younger class of athletes who are coming in. They're like aggressive, they're hungry, they're having fun, and they're breaking records. We even had the first sitting president to ever come and attend the game this past Monday. So it's a record NBA Finals, and I think this kind of gets us, into our next segment. It's giving reverence with Rev at KC Taylor. Take it away.
Yes, as we were giving reverence to young players, I have given flowers to the OKC Thunder. Not that they need my flowers, but you asked me last week, since the Thunder did not advance to the finals, how the city was taking it. And I said something along the lines of how I hadn't been out in the streets. I was like, I've been sitting at home. I'm behaving myself. I'm doing my healing work. Healing looks good on me, I think, or good on you is what my shirt said today. And so I just been at home, but I forgot where I was going, what I was doing, but I was driving down the street and I noticed all of these signs that said things like, thank you, OKC Thunder, for a great season. You did your best. You played your hearts out. Thanks for showing up for our city. And so I said what I guessed had happened in other cities I lived in, that people had quietly taken their signs down. But I was like, no, okay, see, they made some new ones. They needed time. And, there were like cardboard cutouts of the dudes' faces on people's lawns. Like, thank you for a great season. And it reminded me of how people in Oklahoma City, and I'm going to say, just like I said, freedom is a double edged sword. Community is a double edged sword, too. I love the ways in which Oklahoma City shows up to support their own. Working at CSU Youth Shelter, CSU Youth Services, the youth homeless shelter that I've talked about sometimes, the way that the youth are fed is by the community. Every meal is donated. People send things through Amazon from the wish list, but pretty much everything is like a hand cooked meat or home cooked meal. People cook for the youth, 35, 40 youth in their homes, and show up and drop off meals for dinner or whatever. Churches come together. Like the city feeds homeless youth in the community. And I think it's a really beautiful thing. And living in a city where people look out for each other and pay attention to each other, people are all up in each other's business. People definitely do talk their mess. But I'm grateful for the ways in which that the community shows up. So I got to give reverence to OKC.
Yeah, shout out to OKC and shout out to CSU Youth Center. Still paying it forward, investing in the young people because the young people are the future. So really, really commendable that people are taking their time to make home cooked meals for dozens of underprivileged youth so that they can continue, to live on. Because if you don't have a meal on your stomach, that can affect the rest of how your day is going and everything and the choices that you make. So,
and you can't live off of ramen noodles, like a young body can't do that. So for people to be really mindful about getting fresh fruits and vegetables that they sneak into the pasta to make sure that the youth eat, like they really do a good job of taking care of their needs.
That's really good. That's something that, we need to keep in mind and keep doing moving forward, not just in Oklahoma City, but in whatever community that you're in. Give back to the youth because the youth, they're going to be the ones, like Whitney used to say, the children of the future. They definitely are. So you got to treat them right because they remember.
And they grow up and become issues in the community. If you don't feed them when they're young, they continue to grow up and be ignored even more, So I'm grateful for the ways in which the community shows up.
Yes. Well, thank you for that segment, Rev Casey Taylor. We're gonna go into Do Better Blues. And this week I think it's gonna be a fun one. We're gonna have a very lively discussion. So what does fantasy football, sports betting apps, and reality TV all have in common? Okay. So a lot of you may not have heard of this, but our current presidential administration, the government is exploring whether prediction markets should be allowed for people to bet on reality TV shows, reality television competition. Think American Ninja Warrior. What's that one? Survivor. They're looking into whether they can find a way to allow people to bet on the outcome of reality TV shows. So there's a lot of people who's watching a show called Love Island. Love Island's really popular. So if I forgot the name of the commission, but if they are allowed to move through, then people will be allowed to, bet on the outcome on, do you think this person will make it out on the end? Do you think that person? And I think, this kinds of opens up the topic, not just on betting, but like, on entertainment as a whole. Like, should we be allowed to monetize on something that reality TV was supposed to be a way to, entertain people in a way that was very reflective of the realities that surround us in certain communities and stuff, but then trying to add the whole, the whole betting process and everything. I think that's problematic because people should be able to sit down and be entertained, turn your brain off and stuff, and just have a little bit of mindless TV. Because in my opinion, I think that's what reality TV is for me. I grew up in the era with Flavor of Love, I Love New York, A Real Shot of Love with Tila Tequila and stuff, and The Real World, and betting on the outcomes of that. I don't know. I feel like that would have just taken the fun out of it, because like now it's like, okay, I didn't really have anything invested because like, okay, I'm just watching the show, it's entertainment. But now it's like, okay, if you put money involved, now people are really going to be heavily invested. And is this going to impact the way how those people who are on the shows show up and, compete and all those things? Like, what's your thoughts on this? Because I know, you have a background a little bit on working on reality TV.
Be lovely. You sent me a Hollywood Reporter article about this. I'm grateful for the context because one of the things that this article noted, first thing is the betting app that's most popular is called Kalshi, and I was a big Candy Crush person. In fact, I'm in the process of healing my Candy Crush addiction, so I've recently deleted it from my phone. But notice a whole lot of ads for Kalshi around the time the Trump administration came around. And I learned that the relationship between the people who own Kalshi and the Trump administration, that they were really intentional about getting regulation so that they can exist, so that this app can exist. And the reason it didn't is the whole judgment around gambling. And it's so interesting, I think, as a country where we decide, it's kind of what I was talking before about freedom of what a country can and can't do. And gambling is one of those things where, there's all these things of like, you've got to, gambling things can only be here. It got to be in Illinois where I grew up. It was something like it could only be on a river. And then people would just like make a river with a shovel and be like, that's a river, and put a casino there. Like just all of these things around who gets to gamble. And Democrats have a tendency to be like, no gambling. And Republicans are like, money, gambling. Y'all do freedom. That's our thing. So that's what came along with it. And the other thing that this article talked about was how these shows are already produced. Like when there's this question of who's going to win this show, they're already done. And so the article was about like who's paying who under the table, because the prediction, they know who won. And the prediction market, Kalshi, is showing that this person's like an 80% predicted to win. And they're like, I bet somebody told. And so what this actually is cheating. It's less about whether we should or shouldn't be able to guess or predict gambling. Like what makes a live event, you don't know what's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet. For something that's already been produced and shot and all kinds of people know what the outcome is, then it opens up the doors for cheating. And that's a whole nother thing. So
yeah,
I get why it's in contention, and it really should not be legal to bet on something that has already happened and you can get some inside information on. Like that's not gambling, that's cheating.
I agree. And the fact that a lot of these reality shows are pre-produced and written and the outcomes are already kind of, ordained by the producers and stuff. Reality TV isn't really reality. Yeah, you may have some moments where it's like, okay, that was actually real, but a lot of it is scripted. So if you add betting into it, there is a huge opportunity for people to be losing a lot of money because the odds of cheating definitely multiplies.
They do, and that's what it is. So I mean, I get it. There's a difference between saying gambling is wrong and saying that if we make it legal to gamble on this thing that people can easily cheat on if they know the right person, like that's a different situation.
Yeah, my thing is, if you bet on reality TV, what else are we going to be allowed to bet on? Okay.
Well, that's the whole thing with Kalshi. They're like, you get to bet on whether you think it's going to rain in New York City. Like the whole concept of it is that you can bet on anything you want on the app, and it really does feed into that culture of gambling addiction that Americans are already suffering from and not being. So, I mean, when the more regulations make it so that people who struggle with gambling addictions have opportunities to gamble on more and more things, the more kind of unhealthy we get. But that's freedom. That's why it's a double-edged sword.
Well, let's get into, some other ways that we can use our freedom, which is addressing our inner shit talker.
Yes. I love how you are just throwing us along. I'm just like, blah, 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 living my best life. Like, I'm the producer. This is what we doing next. We going to talk about Making peace with your inner shit talker. Last week we talked about a practice from day 8 because I was on some God shit, so that's where my mind was. Gave reverence to God, and our shit talker preference or question was about our relationship with spirit, our own understanding of spirit. And so today's is about gratitude. As we are giving flowers and giving reverence to our community, I invite you to reflect on the question, and I'd love to hear your answer, be lovely, of what practices could you incorporate to remain in gratitude?
Oh, I did that this morning as I was walking around, starting my day. I like to start my prayers by saying everything that I'm grateful for, like having a roof over my head, clothes on my back, food, a reliable car to get me from point A to point B. And like when I go through a list of everything, I just think like, wow, I really am grateful because I have a lot of things that I can be grateful about. And by starting my day like that, no matter what the day throws at me, because I laid down that foundation of like, okay, these are all the things that I'm grateful for, I can reflect back on that and land back on it. Like, okay, even if a curveball is thrown at me, I have all these wonderful things to be grateful for. What about you? How do you incorporate, ways to stay in gratitude through your day?
That is such a great practice. I love how committed you are. You've inspired a lot of the practices that I have. You are who inspired it. Most significantly, my journaling practice. I've never been a consistent journaler until you're like, why not? And I go through seasons. So in the winter, I noticed that I was getting up with the sunrise and meditating with the sunrise. And with the summer, I'm finding, especially since I've returned, I've been taking a walk through my neighborhood first thing in the morning. Because it gets hot in Oklahoma City. So 7 a.m. is the best time to be outside. And just, it's not intentional. I didn't decide every morning this is what I'm going to do. It's just what happens when I wake up of like, I want to move my body. First of all, I'm grateful for the fact that I can move my body. And secondly, as I'm getting older, I want to make sure that I can continue to move my body. And so having this nice little morning reminder to get out of bed, get on my feet. I started running at least once a week because I can, take advantage of that, let my body do what I can do. And I love my neighborhood. That's why I'm giving reference to OKC, because I'm walking around here every morning, and I happen to live in one of the few neighborhoods, if not the only neighborhood, where there are sidewalks throughout the whole thing. OKC is a big car city, like oil is a big thing, and they don't want people walking. So sidewalks are not plentiful, but my neighborhood has lots of trees and lots of sidewalks, and obviously people who feed the squirrels, because the squirrels are like, they out. And I was like thinking about like the squirrels who live in the fancy neighborhoods versus squirrels who live in the hood. Like, how do they get there? Did somebody teach them? So, I mean, when I took my walk this morning, I just was I had gratitude for my body, my mobility. And it's just, that's my prayer time. I pray in the shower, and prayed on my walk, and gratitude just kind of comes with the course. I could really benefit from using a daily gratitude practice, but it's not there. When the time is right, it'll come to me.
You are doing a daily gratitude practice, with your walks, with your meditation and everything, and even with journaling. That's a form of gratitude. And like for our viewers at home, if you're thinking of like, how are some ways I can incorporate, gratitude in my daily life, like Rev KC Taylor was saying, keeping a journal, that helps. Maybe even sending a thank you text to somebody who recently helped you, or like, for something from the past, if you just thought about it, or just even sending like, a thinking of you to, whoever's close to you in your life, to let them know that you're grateful for them. Prayer, meditation, time in nature. And before you go to bed, thinking of or naming the things that you're thankful for. Those are some good ways of practicing gratitude.
That is a wonderful way to end the show. Dropping gems as usual, dropping your wisdom. And let me pray us out, since you prayed us in for our show before we got started today. I invite each person, whether you are watching this live or after the fact, to bring your conscious attention and awareness to your own understanding of the divine, knowing and trusting that each one of us received whatever wisdom, clarity, inspiration was needed from focusing on the brighter side of life, one fun moment at a time. I'm grateful for this show and for the impact that it makes on each one of us, for us coming together in community and giving reverence to one another. And in gratitude, I invite us to close this prayer however we are most comfortable. I choose to close by saying, and so it is.
Amen. Thank you for that wonderful prayer. And thank you guys for that wonderful episode and for joining us. We're definitely looking forward to seeing you again next week as we go into Juneteenth weekend. So get ready because we're going to be celebrating freedom.
Yes, we are.
Yes. Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of What's Up and Why, showing you the bright side of life, one fun moment at a time. Join us again, same time, same place next week. I'm Miss B Lovely.
And I'm Rev Casey Taylor. Have the best week ever.